Greetings everyone, and welcome to this video/podcast. I don't know, I'm just trying this out for the first time. That means I will be making beginner's mistake, and you might not agree with what I'm trying to do, and that's okay. I'm doing this for me and people like me. You see, I have dyslexia, which makes reading long stories sometimes daunting. With this, I want to make my fanfics available for people who wants to listen to stories rather than read them. That said, I will now read to you my first fanfic that I started writing back in October 2016, which was around the same time I myself started to read fanfics. I had just realized that one did not have to be a great writer to make good fanfics. One just had to get their ideas out in words and upload them to whatever site one chose to upload them to. In my case, that was Archive of Our Own. So I wrote my first story and I uploaded it, and it shows that it's my first story. And I'm a bit ashamed of how bad it is at sometimes and how bad I was back then. However, had it been for all the positive feedback I got from this story, I would never have gotten into writing, and I would have become better at writing and written more stories and found love for this. With that said, I thank everyone who gave me the feedback back then, and well, let's just jump into it. This is the first story in the series I Am Danny Phantom Through It All, previously known as The Pros and Cons of Being Danny Phantom. Here goes. When Danny, Tucker and Sam takes a trip to Chicago, they expect a less ghost hectic time, but are pulled into the Bayou's investigation of a new serial killer. Ghost Crime, Chapter 1. The November vacation hadn't come at a better time. Danny, Sam and Tucker had an entire week free from school, letting the three take a trip to Chicago. Danny to visit conventions on space exploration. Tucker, because the same as convention, would also be showing the latest in computer science. And Sam was checking out a horror movie convention and the university in case she wanted to study there once they finished high school. They were on their way back to the hotel when a shiver went through Danny, and he saw his own breath on the autumn air. The three exchanged a look, and Danny ducked into an alley, changing into his ghost form. "I'll be right back. Wait for me at the hotel," he said to his friends before flying off, letting his ghost sense guide him to where the ghost was. "Sure," answered his two friends. They wanted to go with him and help with the ghost business, but knew better. This was an unfamiliar city. Having only brought the phantom thermos, they might be more in the way than to any help for Danny. Besides, hadn't he been doing this for 2 years? He could take care of himself. "I feel like Italian," said Tucker, continuing the conversation that had gotten interrupted. "How about you?" "I think Mexican sounds much tastier," answered Sam, continuing their walk towards the hotel where they were staying. "Bet you I can find a place that serves both," said Tucker, waving his new smartphone which had replaced the old PDA. He had a second phone in his back pocket in case the first one broke, or he needed extra computer power. Danny got his ass royally handed to him. When he got to the alley, there was a man dressed in a dark trench coat and broad-brimmed hat, standing over a woman barely much older than Danny himself. Danny hit the man hard in the chest, sending them both tumbling to the ground. Rolling to his feet in one movement, knees bent and hands up in a boxer stance, he chanced a glance at the woman, but saw the blood around her throat and abdomen, and knew that no human could survive that much blood loss. The killer got to his feet much slower, almost drunkenly. "Really, man? Here I thought ghosts didn't kill the living, if you don't count scaring them to death," said Danny, readying himself for what came next. Gripping his cane, the killer gave it a small twist and drew a thin blade covered in elegant leaf-like pattern and glowing faintly in the darkness of the alley. "Nice blade you got there. Can't talk about this like civilized." Danny didn't get to finish his sentence before the killer charged forward, swiping his sword at Danny, forcing him to dodge. The fight was going well for Danny, until he hit the guy with a ghost ray, and the man bled red. "Human," thought Danny, as the killer jabbed at him with the sword. He jumped up in the air out of reach of the sword. He fought. The killer came after him, glowing red eyes filled with malice, as he flew after Danny. "Okay," thought Danny, "ghost overshadowing human then. Can't really hurt the poor bastard now, can I?" Avoidance tactic didn't really work out either. The killer was much more used to hunting its prey than defending from it, and Danny was not the best at defense. The sword cane seemed to have a ghost power of its own. The blade absorbed all the ghost rays that the killer guarded against, and when Danny tried a shield, it cut straight through it. The sheath to the blade was just as deadly, the killer swinging it in the other hand like a nightstick, striking Danny when he was occupied dodging the blade. The fight took them up onto the roof of one of the buildings. Danny thought he had things under control, keeping the killer at a distance while firing his ghost rays, when, faster than many ghosts Danny knew, the killer moved, getting right up into Danny's face, blade piercing his lower abdomen and out his back. He had a second to wonder how the killer had moved so fast and stare at ectoplasm bleeding from his wound before the pain coursed through his nervous system. Pain was nothing new to Danny Phantom. The occasional beating he got from his enemies hadn't been a dance on roses. He was getting used to always hurting. This pain, however, was on a completely different level. The blade was burning hot and cold at the same time, and something tugged at him, drawing his powers from his body. Fear, unadulterated fear, gripped him. His breath caught in his chest as he took one step backward. The blade was tugging at more than just his physical form. Stumbling back, he felt the ground disappear under his feet. Gravity spun him around as he fell off the roof down into the alley below, giving him a terrifying look of the killer, licking his blade, a hungry glint in his glowing red eyes, a grin on his lips now stained green with his blood. Danny hit the dumpster below hard. Landing on his shoulder, he felt it pop as most of his weight was on it. Letting out a groan, the light started at the middle and moved over him, turning him back into Danny Phantom. His instincts told him that he was still in danger, that he had to get up, had to go ghost again, and defend himself. Rolling off the dumpsters, but instead of landing on his feet, he went head first into the concrete, and blissful, painless darkness overcame his senses. End of chapter 1.